Oh, welcome back everyone. This is Shadow Drake, and if you caught that, you will know that I've done this part sometime after the previous parts. This is actually a completely different plate. Well, not no. Let me say that correct. This is a different time frame from before where I've actually had the chance to do some harm suit heating and cooling tests. This is around the time that I realized that I really want to build that suit and really start playing around with it. But there's something I still need to do before I can do that. And that is, I need to set up a way for this room to vacate itself from the excess oxygen to push it into the tank. That is truly the very last thing I need to do before I have fully automated water cooling. Well, water making and cooling. Hooray! So yeah, let's get that started. So the first things that I need to do is I'm gonna have this IC housing control both of them, just because I don't want to really mix a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's an extra 50 watts, but I can put a lot of stuff in here. So there's two things I want to do. Number one, I need to make it so that it drains the room of oxygen when there's too high of a concentration of it. Number two, I need to make sure that it refills the room with CO2 as I drain the room of oxygen and therefore bring down the overall pressure of the room. And number three, I might as well make it control the lights so that way I can stop wasting like what 200 watts of lighting constantly because I can't be bothered to turn them on or off. So yeah, this is probably the last major script that I need. If I make other scripts, then I might actually post them up. But I figured that the scripts that are critical to the survival are the ones that I'm going to post. Everything else, maybe I could do it if there's a desire for them. So we're just going to get started with the script. So first things first, lights. The lights. So I need the occupancy sensor, I need the lights batch instruction, and I make an alias for the lights on or off, yada yada yada, do the same thing, main and jmain yield, yeah, typical stuff. And just turn on the lights when they are that. And this one's actually going to be fairly simple. I think it is literally as simple as, does the occupancy sensor show that I'm here? If so, turn the lights on. If not, turn the lights off. Success! 10 out of 10, Shadow Drake is a coding genius. Yes, you can laugh. you can laugh. Okay, so now let's get to the actual hard part of the script, and that is emptying the room of oxygen. So this is kind of the weird thing where we're gonna run into this weird little issue with the gas sensor, and that is, or gas sensors, and that is that they don't have a total moles parameter. Shocking, I know, and it's really weird to think that they don't have that. They only have they have a ratio, they have temperature, they have pressure, but they don't have a total moles. All right, so what I did just there is I wanted to make sure that those vents were forced to the correct mode. So what that means is that the CO2 vent will never be on the push air in because I don't want to taint that tank. And the O2 vent doesn't get stuck in the wrong direction and try to pull air out of the pipe. I don't foresee any issues on that unless for some reason a pipe broke and then I'll just be pulling in Vulcan atmosphere, and we know how well that's going to work. Fireball. Uh, so I kind of wanted to do it similar to the step function for the Starlings, except it's going to be simpler, and that I want it to have an idle mode where it's just checking to see whether it should refill CO2 or pull out O2, and then I want it to be either one step for pulling O2 out or the other step for filling it in. I don't want both of those to run at the same time. I only want one of them to run. And yes, you see that right. SEQC, SEQ instructions. Spoilers, that's gonna come back to bite me eventually. I do that a lot. And this just kind of shows that I am not a coding genius at times. I still use the wrong functions. I still use the wrong comparisons. I still make mistakes. And sometimes I don't even realize that I make those mistakes until after I try to do something. And then I realize, oh, I made a mistake. Yeah, take bets. Take bets internally uh, for how long it'll take before I figure out that issue. Go on ahead. Just take bets. Only spoilers I will give you is yes, I do figure it out before the end of this episode. No, that does not tell you exactly how long it takes. So we're gonna find that out together. All right, so yeah, this goes back to that. It's like you see, there is no total moles parameter for a gas sensor, which honestly would be amazing for this whole thing of figuring out exactly how much oxygen is in the room. And I completely forgot about that. So I'm like, okay, well, if there is no total moles, that means I have to do some PV equals nRT math to figure that out. So need the temperature, need the pressure, need the ratio of oxygen. I gotta do some PV equals nRT. The volume of a room frame is 8,000 liters, so that's a simple thing to get. And there's the second mistake right there. I did N equals RT over PV. What is the formula again? PV equals nRT. Not PVN equals RT. Yep, you can guess that. It's going to take me some time to figure that one out too. I think I figured that one out earlier though. And the only reason I figured that one out earlier is because I actually knew that this was supposed to be an idle. And so the major thing I needed to check is to make sure that it actually that I can pull out my atmospheric tablet, read how much oxygen there is, and compare it to what the script says, and they should be roughly identical. So I figured that one out sooner, so as well as errors on line like 30 or whatever. Well, that's an error. So it's like, all right, there is exactly 0.001 moles of oxygen. Nope, that's not right. I did something wrong. 0.001 moles of oxygen. So I'm like, did I do it here? Yep, I did RT over under PV. It's supposed to be PV. See? I make mistakes. I still make mistakes. So now multiply pressure by 8,000, divide by R gas, and then divide by temperature. Then multiply by the ratio. 56 moles. Is that roughly what it says? 56.8? 56.8. Perfect. All right. That works. So now that I know the approximate moles, now comes the whole fact that I need to do the whole branching to the specific areas. So I know that I need to branch to drain oxygen at a specific point. And this is actually where I kind of fumbled a little bit. I was thinking I needed to do like a select instruction type thing. No, that wasn't the case. So there might be a little bit of dead space for me trying to figure that out. But it really was as simple as I really should just check if I am over the maximum oxygen pressure, I branch over to the oxygen step. Turn on the vent, drain it, and when I get below the minimum, then I step out. That's really all I needed. I think that's around the time that I was trying to figure out how to do that. So I decided to use a relative branching, and I did The way I chose it is if the concentration of oxygen is less than the maximum setting, I jump forward to 3. Let's correct that. 3 lines. Because I don't need to worry about that. I figured that pulling out oxygen is more important than pushing CO2 in. So basically, if that's less than Omax, which is 65 moles, then it's just going to skip that. If it is greater than Omax, then we go to the oxygen step. Now, I went ahead to go ahead and set the output state for the vents up there. They both need to be off in idle mode. And I do that as a just in case measure that something happens and I reset it. Idle should mean both vents are off. Now I try to think, okay, well, what about the CO2 part? Actually, no, this is the, this is where I think I had it backwards. So for CO2, I want it to be that if the pressure is greater than 60 kilopascals, then I don't need to get more CO2. But if the pressure gets below 60 kilopascals, then I need more CO2. Since this is all potatoes, it's going to be converting more CO2 into oxygen and, and it's going to get pulled out. So the pressure for the room should slowly decrease. Slowly decrease. I didn't need to use a relative branch there because if it's greater than the minimum pressure, it goes to the end. If not, then we'll go to the CO2 step and go to end. Oxygen low. And this is around the time that I realized something's wrong. In the sense that I forgot to put those outputs on there. It's not going to turn the vents on or off or force them into a specific state if I forget that output state again. See, there's little things that I forget. So I add that. Try again. Can I get CO2 in here? Nope, auto shut off. Alright, perfect. So I am reasonably reassured that the vents will turn off and not overpressurize or drain all the oxygen out. So as far as output goes, CO2 side, just turn on the vents, the output vent on. And then when the pressure is above a certain setting, then I bring it back. Now, what I did here, the reason I moved those instructions up top is because I realized that I left those in the idle network. And so if I got out of the idle state, I will never be reading those inputs. So I will always be working with stale data. So that's when I realized that, oh, I need to move that information into the main so that calculation can go. And then I'll go to the step logic to decide from there. And then those conditional branches need to stay in the idle. So you see, it's little things like that. You just kind of figure things that could go wrong. One with experience, and two as you kind of reason through it. So back to the CO2. Okay, so when I need to fill it with CO2, I of course turn the register for the output on. And then I gotta come up with a condition for when do I turn it off or go back to idle. And so the easiest thing for that to do is when it's less than Pmax, it'll, skip the reset condition and just leave it on. When it gets above the Pmax, it'll step back into idle and turn everything off. And very similar to the oxygen step. And that for the oxygen step though, When the concentration is less, greater than the minimum amount, it'll keep the vent on to suck out oxygen. As soon as it drops below that, then it'll go back to idle. And remember, earlier I put the idle will turn off the vents, so just like the Stirling condition, this one's simpler. Probably could be done easier, but I did it that way just so that I could troubleshoot issues. Because the main thing is that you as an individual, when you start coding these things, you will eventually remember what things give you trouble. And that's one of the things that I knew was going to give me trouble. But remember, I have the set register instructions, so we are a quarter of the way, about a quarter of the way in the video. Yeah, so make some internal bets about how long it'll take. In the meantime, apparently I'm just gonna slow moonwalk my way out. It takes forever to fill the tank, but that's 450 kilopascals of oxygen in that pressure, in the oxygen tank. And so that system to slowly draw out the oxygen in that greenhouse, it'll eventually fill up the tank, which I can then use the oxygen to make fuel, which then, can use for oxygen tank pressure and whatnot. It still needs to fill in, but hopefully, if that logic will work 100% of the time, I'll eventually build up what I need. So while that is happening, you see that I am building a counterflow. 2 counterflows. Probably actually more like 3 counterflows. My batteries are green, which probably means that it is nighttime. I think if you turn the volume up, you might be able to hear the Stirlings running if it is nighttime. Yeah, it's nighttime. So that's actually really cool to see that that's still going. Alright, so remember the last part? I built the harm suits. This part of the playthrough takes place after I have done the harm suit tests. So now I am gung-ho about getting the harm suit operational. So I go on a mining run. So what do I need? To get the harm suit operational, I need to get some liquids. From the tests that I have done. And you see there's almost cold. 6.32 liters of water. From the tests that I have done, and I'll summarize some of this stuff because I made a Reddit post about that probably several weeks ago from the time this video has come up. I made a Reddit post. Dangerous, I know. And I've also been talking on the Discord as I've been, having exclamations about things that happened. So, the harm suit. None of the air inside the suit gets pushed into the waste tank unless it's via the filters. So what that means is that, like the hard suit and the EVA suit, some of that oxygen in your canister goes to the waste tank. It's unavoidable because of that. The harm suit does not do that. Instead, the harm suit cools itself via that coolant liquid canister. And so long as that liquid canister is between negative 230 Celsius and 50 Celsius, I don't remember what the minimum range was off the top of my head. So long as that coolant canister is between those temperatures, it can handle moving 2 kilojoules of thermal energy per tick. So it can do 2 kilojoules of cooling for the air inside your suit per tick, which is amazing. Now, if it is outside of those ranges, its strength gets cut in half, so it can only do 1 kilojoule of cooling per tick instead. Which, if you ask me, that's still very strong. To put it into perspective, your suit generally does not have a lot of air inside it. 1 kilojoule of cooling, the equivalent of a wall cooler, is actually pretty strong. Uh, Even the harm suit has a 400-liter capacity within the suit compared to the hard suit's 13 liters and the EVA suit's 13 liters. So it does have extra capacity, like over 10 times more capacity. And so I clocked up 100 kPa, 20 Celsius at about 16 moles. So 16 moles of O2. Moving 1 kilojoule of energy from 16 moles of O2, I believe its specific heat is about 21. I don't have the numbers in hand, but so I'm just going to be approximating. So I believe the specific heat of oxygen is about 21. So 16 moles of O2, 16 heat. It takes about 340 joules of energy to change 1 degree. And so the harm suit being capable of moving 1 kilojoule outside of the ideal working range, that's 3-degree change per tick. That's still phenomenal amounts of cooling for your suit. So, yeah. That's not going to save you, however, on Venus. If your suit somehow gets to 460 Celsius, you have to change 16 moles of O2 from 460 down to 20 Celsius to, not roast your lungs. Yeah, that's not gonna do that very fast. You're gonna you might actually die from lung damage before the suit gets you down to that point. So yeah, that's why I recommend that if you have a suit breach in Venus, you just purge. Once you fix the suit, you just purge it. Just purge it. Get rid of all that junk. You will take less damage if you purge it and let your suit refill from the canister, some fresh air, versus waiting for it to cool it down. It's just, yeah. You're better off getting rid of those 16 moles of O2. Or, whatever is in your suit. Anyway, so yeah. So after I did all those tests and found out how good the cooling canister is, I wanted to build a liquid pollutant canister refill station for the harm suits. Now, the reason I chose pollutants is because I'm not making enough water to support putting 10 liters of water into my harm suit, or getting 10 liters of water cool down to like 1 Celsius and then using it in my harm suit. I barely have 6 liters of water. Where am I going to get the other 10? The other thing is, of course, I don't have a phase change system set up for getting that, to 1 Celsius. I'd have to build that system. So then I thought, well, what if instead I fill it with liquid pollutants? Liquid pollutants are readily available in Vulcan, so I can do it. I can cool it down. I could make a system that cools it down to colder than that. Like maybe I can get it down to like negative 90 Celsius. And if I do a system like that, then I actually get myself to a position where I could also cool down some volatiles to liquids for whenever I decide to do a rocket. And quite honestly, I haven't decided if I'm going to go for the pumped gas engine rocket to get oxygen, or if I want to be crazy and go for pumped liquid engine for rocketry to go get my oxygen. There are benefits and drawbacks to that. Like, for example, the pump liquid engine is going to be more efficient for how much I burn. Like, without a doubt, it's I will spend less fuel to get the rocket into space uh, to mine some space oxygen than I would if I did the pumped version. The problem with that, of course, is that then I would have to do some massive cooling to get liquid oxygen and liquid volatiles. So I did wonder about that. But you know, the other thing I could do is that if I cool a Mark II container of liquid pollutants and have it like almost, you know, chock full, uh, a portable tank is, I believe, about 790 liters. So, you know, if I have a portable tank filled with 700 liters of negative 90 Celsius liquid pollutants, you know, I could have the system be temporary to just do that for the harm suits. And then when I want to make the permanent system, well, I can just unwrench that portable tank and move it to a new home, and, you know, I have it available for cryogenics. You know, I'm kind of trying to think ahead. So, that was my thoughts. But in order for me to make those dreams a reality, you can tell that I'm basically building another cooling tower. And if you can't tell, that you know, I'm building another cooling tower. And the reason for that is for me to cool 700 liters of pollutants from 80 Celsius, 80 to 100 Celsius, down to negative 90 Celsius, I need to move a lot of thermal energy. I'm already moving a lot of thermal energy by constantly cooling the CO2 over there because, you know, that CO2 tank is getting filled, and it's also cooling down the greenhouse. It's cooling down the water. It's cooling down the this itself. CO2 is getting cooled down. Water is getting cooled down. The greenhouse is getting cooled down. So, you know, I'm already moving a lot of thermal energy there, and the condensation chamber is capping at about 9 kilojoules of thermal energy. If I am going to do another 9 kilojoules of thermal energy to cool down liquid pollutants from, you know, 90 Celsius to negative 90 Celsius, I am going to be pumping so much thermal energy into that volatiles tank. I'm going to overwhelm it. Like I just have a good gut feeling that I will overwhelm it. So what I need to do is increase the heat rejection side of things by adding another cooling tower. And then I can make the another phase change device system to you know, cool it down. Basically another pollutant heat exchange system. Like, I'm not gonna put that tie it to the 20 Celsius CO2. I don't want to make that system harder to work with, you know. I want to make a separate system to dump the energy in a separate spot. Because I was thinking that that system is going to be temporary because I might want to reclaim that space for a better heat pump. So first things first, cooling tower. Because one, I will probably need to dump more thermal energy once I get the almost cryo cooler pollutant system going. So I basically need all the stuff for this, you know, my counterflows, my volume pumps, and all that fun stuff. And the way I have it, I realized that I actually have a decent way to have the cooling towers going. I'm checking to see my fuels to make sure that I make more water. You see that I almost have a liter of water ready to go, which is good. I'm hovering around 4.7 liters of water, and I want to say that I believe it is slowly increasing. Now, when I had gone inside, I noted that I was at 64 moles of oxygen, which means that pretty soon I'll be able to tell if I programmed that system correctly to drain the greenhouse of oxygen. So for those of you who are making bets about somewhere around the middle half of the video, let's see if it pays off. For those of you who thought that it would be earlier, well, I still haven't figured it out yet. But I mean, me telling you this, I'm pretty sure you can get a gut feeling that I'm gonna find out soon-ish. The question is how soon. I'm on the edge of my seat here too because I really don't remember when I figured it out. I know I did. I know I did figure it out during this part. I just don't remember when. Alright, so for a cooling tower, I need the power vents. I need the pipes. I need the 2 valves. Because I need to make a pipe cowl. I gotta make the one-way valve so that excess can come out. Need one more passive liquid drain so that I can passively drain liquids from the one-way valve. I needed some utility pipes, and I need pipes. I really need to pressurize that spot. It really won't take much to pressurize this area, to be honest, because 10, 11 times 60, that's 660 moles. And then I can just put a radiator tied to the CO2, and that'll keep it nice and cool. But first, I need to actually get a back supply of water before I spend spare oxygen for that. Now, when I was doing this, I did not remember when the next storm would be. And I was trying to get this ready by the next storm because I'm still in the Vulcan summer, and I'm sure you've heard me talk about summer and winter. To me, when I say summer, I mean that there's more daytime than nighttime. When I say winter, there's more nighttime than daytime. I know that the Vulcan winter is technically hotter during the day, but it also has more darkness. So it's really confusing, mind you. So, yeah. So this is the time frame where storms can actually be colder than 127 Celsius. So what I was thinking for the Vulcan cryo cooler, so that I can have liquid pollutants for my harm suit, it would be to my advantage if I fill it with some of the colder pollutants. So I'm trying to get the cooling tower set up so that I have an extra cooling tower for cooling the volatiles. But I'm also trying to get it set up quick enough that when the next storm hits, I'll be able to take advantage of the cooler temperatures. And now, if you're wondering why I'm not using my jetpack much, well, I rarely do use my jetpack. I do try to scrimp on it, which is why you see that it is still 4.5 megapascals of pressure, which is a lot. I believe it starts with 6. So, that just says how little I've used it. I have used it some during mining to get out of a hole that I dug, just because I didn't want to spend the extra time to, dig my way out. But now that I've kind of decided to try to wear the harm suit, I am mentally trying to avoid using my jetpack more and more often. Because once I equip the harm suits, I won't have a jetpack anymore. So you will be seeing me try not to use the jetpack as much in preparations for the harm suit. Now, I will print out 2 phase change devices because the next thing I will be doing is setting up the cryo cooler, which, same thing. Got to fill it with pollutants, got to get it all set up, got to get it all squared away. I don't know if I fully finish it here. I think I might have most of it done. Now, because of the way that I set up my script originally, I had it set up in mind that I could very easily expand it. Or, expand the cooling tower setup by just naming things correctly and wiring it up. It also helped that it was turning into daytime so that I didn't have to worry about turning something on when I didn't want it to be. So first things first, I wanted to connect the vents and the volume pump. Just to get them connected. Because I know they have to get connected.
Hunger caution.
I also completely forgot that I left the helmet hood on. I usually play with it off, but I think I wanted to have it on as well because of the harm suit. Because it actually polarizes the lenses, and I really forgot to remove that. So, yeah. Sorry about that. And it actually does limit your visibility a little bit. Seeing the volume pump turned on means that the script has taken control of it. And for the most part, the second cooling tower is indeed ready. So it will actually begin cooling those volatiles. So now I'm taking a note for how much water I have in my tank. And I have at least 100 liters, so that's basically 2 liters worth of volatiles. I check my oxygen tank and I see that's 400 kPa. And that raised the flag in my head because, yeah, it's like I guess I'm not getting much oxygen just yet, so. I got the phase change devices printing. I go in here, check things. Well, nothing's broken. And I see, oh hey, it's a stage 1. Wait, step 1 means that it needs to be extracting oxygen, so what's the problem? There you go. It's 69.3. Alright guys, who said that it would take me a little over half the time for me to try to figure out that something's wrong? You win the prize. I actually thought it was going to be later, to be honest. So I would have lost. And I played this too. So I put the J end because I did forget that. It's, if for some reason it's not in the right steps, it really does need to go to the end. Because that means something got foobarred. I'm only writing 0, 1s, and 2s. If somehow the F mode is any number but those 3. Something definitely went wrong. So now I'm like, what is going on here? It says it's back at 0. I do also want to make mention that when the airlock is cycled out, when I left the greenhouse, the concentration of O2 actually increases slightly. When I am in here, you know, the airlock is open, so some of the extra oxygen concentration goes in there. Which means it takes a little bit longer for it to drain. But when I'm working outside, the concentration increases by a little bit because there's one less room. I haven't quite figured it out yet. I'm looking over my logic, making sure that I didn't do anything weird, making sure that my branches are theoretically going to the right places and things are going correctly. Here you see me questioning my concentration of oxygen again. It's like, is that correct? 70? Yeah, it's correct. I didn't make that up. What is going on here? So it should be in oxygen, and yet it's not. So there you go. You see me repeat my stuff. So turn output off, turn output off. If it's below the max, skip 3, 1, 2, 3. So it should be, it should not skip that, so it should be going to 1. Why is it not going to 1? Did I misread that? So let me put F mode. That is my train of thought. That is how I troubleshoot things. It's like, it's 0. It's like, okay, hold on. Something's not right. Let me make sure I'm not crazy. Let me leave the room. Do the lights turn off? Yes, they turn off. They turn on. Okay, so my code is cycling. One of the things I was concerned about was that I somehow relative branch and kept this thing from cycling. I went through the common things that could have gone wrong. Like, did I do a relative branch loop and get it stuck somewhere? Am I doing something weird? So now I'm questioning, did I not relative branch out correctly? I was like, I'm super confused. That makes sense. It should be going there. I was 100% certain that it was an idle. So then I'm like, okay, hold on. Let's start from the beginning. Okay, so that works, which means it is going to that. We're doing. Oh, this is about the time that I was starting to figure it out. Somewhere around here. I thought that was it. Okay, I guess not. So I'm like, okay, so it should be, I got all my data, I got my concentrations correct. I see my branching here, quote, quote, see my branching and looking at the SEQCs. Why I'm writing comments, I don't know. I think I'm trying to mentally fix myself. So then I'm like, wait, I should be branching to idle, and no, I was not branching. I was set registering. There we go. That's what I was supposed to see. I shook my head. No, it's like I'm such an idiot. So guys, if you made a mental bet that it would take me about 30, 40 minutes, about the 40-minute mark, congratulations. You probably knew knew me to some degree, or you cheated, or you had a good idea. This was giving me airlock stupidity vibes again. Except that this time I wasn't fumbling with the door. Just my own mistakes. I was actually decently surprised that it went from like 300, I think it was 380, 390 kPa, and it was already went up to like 470 kPa from one cycle. Granted, it was extra air in here because of my mistake. With that, the code for getting oxygen is complete. Now it works. Now I can get oxygen whenever I will need. Now I can go back to... Oh, poop. I forgot I left those printing. Oh well. It's okay, I needed those. I need floor space. I was not sure exactly how many steel frames I would need to build for the cryo cooler. Almost, well, semi-cryo cooler. But can't hurt to have those. Hey, I have made extra water. So when I started, I was about 4.5 liters of water. Now I'm at 5.1 liters of water at full hydration. I'm making water, slowly but surely. All right, so for pretty much the rest of this video, now that that's done, it's going to be basically setting up the cryo cooler. So I still have to do the oxygen manually because I don't have enough, the 2 megapascals of oxygen that I would need for it to automatically grab some to put it into the tank. But that's okay. It's not too hard for me to go out, turn on the volume pump for the fuel mixer, let it mix some fuel, then turn it off. So I have a feeling that I might need another Sterling or two, so I figured I might as well just increase the space here so that I can have those once I want to spare the time and materials to do that. Because it seems like 4 was enough. With 4 Sterlings, I am net positive in water production. Even though I'm only trying to cool down 50 moles of water at a time. So now I need to make some space. I need to have some floor space so that I can get the phase change. The phase change devices in. See, I noted that I am at 135 Celsius on the volatiles. And then I kind of realized something. It's like, those heavy cables are kind of in a bad spot. If I'm gonna put the phase change device to cool a tank of liquid pollutants, I need to put these heavy cables under the frames because they will block the counterflows, they will block, utility pipes. So, time to move it now. So, you know how I was actually questioning whether the hard suit was a good investment or not back then? you know, back before I had all of this set up, it was definitely a questionable investment. But now that I'm at the point that I have a breathable atmosphere, for sure, doing jobs like this, the hard suit is definitely worth it. And that's because, the EVA suits in this hot Vulcan atmosphere, I would have been burning through my oxygen, and I would have been having to fill the oxygen canister to like 8 megapascals. I carried probably an extra waste canister just to be working out here during the daytime. Oops, grabbed too much. Then I'm like, oh, that's actually a decent sum of fuel. Oh, time to make a lot of water. Like, yeah, need some water because there's only 2 liters worth of water in the steam tank, and I'm making about 2 liters of water every night. So, yep. Now, I don't really want to leave that alone, pumping too much, because I figured that would just be an accident waiting to happen. Alright, time to get some more steel sheets, more counterflows. Now comes basically remaking that Polluant's phase change heat pump again. And I'm gonna need, you guessed it, insulated piping and utility pipes. Maybe another mining trip, if possible. Well, I'm gonna try to make as much as I can. I opted to go for the portable liquid tank Mark II, just in case I want to overfill it and not have a dedicated like canister stuff for refilling it. Something that I could just, like, if I wanted to, I could just disconnect it, slot in the the pollutant coolants in there and take it out, instant equalization, because the the normal canister filler is not insulated, and I cannot remember if the canister is insulated while inside the portable tank. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I played a normal start condition where I had the ability to fill liquids, to be honest. Like, a normal start in Vulcan does give you a Mark II liquid nitrogen tank, if I remember correctly. I believe they give you one of those for here in Venus. And that was meant to be so that you can slot your dev bomb noob killer thing, to slot it in there to put it into your portable AC so that you can cool your base down. Quite honestly, I think the better thing to do is just to literally open that in your base. Slowly and but surely. That way you get 1, extra pressure, and 2, cooling. In my opinion. You don't really have to do it that way. Shadow Drig is wrong on multiple occasions. I mean, just look at my coding. So I'm opting to try to make this system compact. So I'm thinking that I probably only really need, small utility pipes worth of volume. Spoilers, I way undersold just how, how big of a heat load I was gonna get. Way undersold it. So you can kind of tell it's looking very similar like the other system I made for the CO2. So I noted that the volatiles tank was at 137 by the time that this system, the cooling towers kicked on. Just very hot, mind you. That's pretty hot. A little concerning. So I wanted to make sure that everything was cooling as it was expected to, so that I can kind of gauge and see just where it got to. Hooray, more water. Ooh, getting up to 6 liters. That's perfect. So just like the other heat exchange, I want this to work at 6, get the pollutants hot. Then I wanted to get, on the cold end, I wanted it to get to about -90. And then I realized, well, that's actually too close. Let's do -80 instead. So 2063. That's what I figured that would be better. So as far as things go, the settings are applied. I just need to finish the piping. But I need more insulated utility pipes and cables. Always need cables. Now we got the portable. I don't, the printer just literally try to eat it up. That's kind of hilarious. Getting close to the wrap-up point. I don't think that this system was going to be ready in this part, but same thing as before. I'll probably get the hardware set up and then fill it and troubleshoot the system and make sure that it works properly in the next part. That's kind of honestly what this playthrough has been like. I talk about what I will need. I start working on what I will need, but I never quite finish it. It's kind of like a two-parter for everything. Part 1, I start building it. Part 2, I finish it and start building another thing. Never get to finish it. And so on and so forth. So yeah, I did think that this was all that I would need, and I way underestimated just how deep the system was going, or how much the system was going to need. So with this, I decided now is a good time for me to try to fill it with liquids while I can't. Oh, well, sun's coming up. Let's try to get this going quickly. Try to fill it up with liquid pollutants so that it can start getting down to temp and working. So now I'm like, no, I gotta get this going. Must work faster. Must work faster. So I get as much as I can. like, oh yeah, let's turn that off so that all of the liquids go in here. It's already 134 Celsius and climbing. That means there's going to be less liquids. So about as fill rates is concerned, I need to get enough pollutants in the system that the evap chamber has already hit the pressure limit, but I need to get 6 megapascals of pressure approximately in the condensation chamber, and then the liquids need to evaporate in the liquid pipes and fill that out. So yeah, that's what I was trying to hopefully get this going. So I didn't quite get enough, obviously. Like the liquid pipes are nowhere near pressurized, which means that the condensation is nowhere near ready. And woo, extra oxygen. Perfect. I can make more something. My collection of water is increasing. So no condensation there because it's still not enough pressure. That's cold because of evaporation. What do I do? Do I actually set up the portable? I think I do. So what I thought about cooling the portable tank is, since I am going to be pushing liquids in here, I'm going to do like another vent system to grab nighttime pollutants again, liquid pollutants, and get it into the tank. One of the quirks about the portable tank connector is that the liquid port will allow liquid pollutants to go in and out freely, but it will not allow pressure and gas to go in and out freely. It's really weird in that case that it's a liquid only transfer. By the same token, the gas connection on the portable tank connector will only allow gases to freely mix in and out. It will not allow liquids to come in or out. So it is, once again, a gas only connection. So what that means is I can set this portable connector out back there and connect the gas port side to that evaporation chamber. And then that evaporation chamber will allow the portable tank and the gas connection to cool down. So then that evaporation chamber will cool down basically the liquids and the gases in that portable tank down to the negative 90 C I want, well, negative 80 Celsius. Now, I did consider the fact that it will get cold enough that liquids will start condensing in the gas pipe network, which is why I am adding that condensation valve. So that way, when the gaseous pollutants cool down and inevitably condense due to high pressures, they will flow back to the liquid side through the condensation valve. And because the portable tank because the portable tank allows its gas, its pressure and gas to cool due to the pipe. Yeah, you see that further explains it. You see how there's literally no pressure and gas inside the tank, even though I connected that network. So the evap chamber will cool down the gas connection, which will mix with the portable tank, which will allow that to cool, which will cool its liquids, which will allow the liquid port to cool the liquids in the pipe. And so, it's a really quirky setup, but it will work. Oh, and then I noticed, oh, storm's coming. What perfect timing. And I have plenty of water, so I figured that the storm won't cause any issues. So all in all, this system is almost ready. It just the evap chamber needs to be pressurized, and then I need to get some liquids in here. So yeah, when we return on the next part, this is a good wrap up point. When we return next time, we're gonna try to capture as much cold liquid pollutants due to the storm into that portable tank as we slowly try to fill it. Now, I don't know whether I'm what I will decide. I'm thinking it will be better for me to fill that portable tank to 700 liters so that it's a lot of liquids, and then I can just use that to equalize with the canister and not have my coolant, and that will work. Because I figured that the volume pumps might not be a good idea. Use a volume pump to fill it, and then use another volume pump to empty it. As I put hot pollutants in there. But yeah, I think overall survival is no longer an issue. Now it's just a matter of expanding and thriving. Still going to be confined to this field of potatoes for a while, though. But yeah, this is Shadow Drake. Thank you for your time. And when we return next time, I think I might swap back to live commentary again as I play. I think it'll be easy for me to do it that way. Thank you for your time. Hope to see you then. Thank you, and have a good day. Goodbye.